Battle Through the Heavens, Chapter 233. A tense negotiation and the Tier 6 pill formula. The desert heat still radiates from the heavy ruler's edge, but the air within the shop suddenly turns brittle and thin. As the parchment slips from a steady grip, a sharp crystalline snap shatters the silence, flash freezing the paper into a jagged weight of frost. Nearby, the girl's breathing hitches, her gaze fixed on the cold creeping toward the youth's boots.
As the map was about to touch Haibodong's body, a burst of cold chi suddenly appeared and froze it into a block of ice, which then fell helplessly beside the old man. Seeing the map suddenly turn into a block of ice, the eyes of the young woman in red brightened slightly. This was the first time she had seen the old man display such high-level strength.
Truly someone who does not know life from death, daring to be so impolite to the Ice Master. He is indeed a person with a narrow vision.
Her gaze flickered with excitement as she stared at Xiaoyan. Naturally, she did not think the old man would easily let go of the youth who dared to offend him. Naturally, all her thoughts were just a woman wanting to watch a scene. Although the old man shifted his mind from the map to Xiaoyan as she expected, his withered face, which was always icy, suddenly broke into an extremely rare smile as he swept his gaze toward the black-robed youth in front of him. This smile was something the girl, who always respectfully served the old man, had never seen before.
Little brother, you have finally returned. Come, I have truly been waiting for you for a long time.
Setting down his brush, Haibodong's eyes swept over Xiaoyan, a flash of strangeness quickly passing through his eyes. Having not seen him for several months, the black-robed youth in front of him had actually become much stronger. Haibodong even seemed to sense an aura from him that made him feel a faint trace of fear.
Could it be a heavenly flame? Heavens! Did he really find a heavenly flame?
An idea flashed through Haibodong's mind, causing an expression of immense shock to surface on his face. His gaze toward Xiaoyan revealed a complicated emotion that was hard to describe.
There was no other way. The old gentleman has something I need in his hands, so I naturally wanted to return quickly. Moreover, without the assistance of the old gentleman's map, I am afraid it would have been difficult for me to reach my goal even if I searched the desert for a year.
Xiaoyan said with a long laugh.
It was just a small matter.
Laughing and waving his hand, Haibodong's nose twitched slightly, and his withered face changed instantly. He looked at Xiaoyan with some surprise and said in shock,
You have been in contact with Queen Medusa?
In the shop, seeing that the old man not only refrained from attacking Xiaoyan, but instead discussed things with him and even appeared happy, the woman on the side was momentarily stunned. A moment later, her brows furrowed slightly. Her eyes secretly stole a glance at the black-robed youth, who seemed a bit younger than her, and her heart could not help but feel a bit of jealousy. She had been here helping Haibodong for so long, yet she had never been treated so gently by him.
This fellow...
The indignant woman was just about to prepare to go back and have someone investigate Xiaoyan's background when the words that suddenly came out of Haibodong's mouth made her freeze in place, as if struck by lightning. Naturally, she was not the only one. There were 3 other young people and several strong men in the shop who also froze when they heard Haibodong mention Queen Medusa. In the vicinity of the desert, Queen Medusa's fierce reputation was enough to make any human feel fear. Years ago, during a great war, Her Majesty the Queen had once single-handedly washed a city in blood. Her fierce reputation reached the point where children dared not cry.
This fellow, he actually came into contact with Queen Medusa, and he did not die?
Shocked and unbelieving gazes stared at the youth carrying the massive black sword. Their minds were slightly shaken. Although there were some people near the desert cities who had come into contact with Queen Medusa and survived, were any of those people not powerful individuals who shook a whole region? But the one in front of them was a youth who did not seem to be even 20 years old. Was it possible?
Unfortunately, I had a bit of bad luck and came into contact with her. However, I was fortunately able to protect my small life. Otherwise, the old gentleman would not be seeing me.
Xiaoyan shrugged and said with a smile,
Truly unbelievable. You actually escaped from that woman's hands and returned alive. Moreover, you seem to be unharmed. Truly, a hero comes from the youth. I think among the peak figures of the younger generation in the Jiama Empire, you, little brother, surely hold a spot.
Haibo Dong blurted out in shock. Xiaoyan gave a faint smile. Regarding that peak figure, he could only show a helpless expression.
Oh. Right. Little brother. I wonder. The matter I asked of you.
Raising his withered hand, Haibo Dong suddenly asked with a serious smile.
Oh, you mean the sand mandala? This is indeed a difficult item to find. I was only lucky enough to find it in the sacred city of the Snake People tribe.
His finger tapped his ring, and a deep yellow plant immediately appeared in Xiaoyan's palm. The appearance of this plant was somewhat strange. Its stem was wound like a golden snake, and at the top it had a snake head raised upward. Atop the snake head, a fist-sized lump appeared. This lump was the most concentrated essence of the plant.
I have truly troubled you, little brother.
Haibo Dong took the plant with a startled and thankful smile.
It was just a small matter.
Xiaoyan sighed, mimicking the tone Haibo Dong used earlier. In the shop, seeing Haibo Dong and Xiaoyan talking as if no one else were there, the smile on the girl's face slowly faded. Although she had been offensive, she was not a fool. Seeing the mysterious old man's attitude toward Xiaoyan and the content of their conversation, she knew very well in her heart that the youth before her, who looked younger than her, must possess terrifying strength.
Heavens, where did such a freak come from? How have I never heard of such a young powerhouse appearing in the Jiama Empire?
A shiver ran through her heart, and a bitter smile appeared on her face.
Ice Master.
Being ignored, the girl spoke up with some hesitation. Interrupted in his conversation, Haibo Dong frowned slightly, glanced at the girl, and said indifferently,
You should go back, and do not return. Tell your father that he has been careful for a long time, and that is quite enough.
Hearing Haibo Dong's blunt expulsion, the girl was stunned. Her eyes suddenly turned red, and her teeth bit her red lips tightly. She had intended to ask Haibo Dong to take her as a disciple, but his words clearly severed her hopes. Feeling wronged, a trace of moisture seemed ready to fall from her long eyelashes. At this moment, she regretted her earlier offense toward Xiaoyan. Seeing Haibo Dong's indifferent attitude, Xiaoyan could not help but shake his head. This old fellow's heart was truly hardened. Although her previous attitude had given Xiaoyan a bad impression of her, she had helped Haibo Dong after all. Despite her efforts to make him happy, the stubborn and indifferent old man seemingly had no feelings for her. It seemed this old man's personality was quite detached. In his future cooperation with him, he would have to be a bit careful.
Old gentleman, with your status, treating a woman like this is a bit too much.
Seeing the girl's aggrieved look, Xiaoyan shook his head slightly. He picked up a map from the table and said with a joke. Hearing this, Haibo Dong was stunned. He looked at Xiaoyan's smiling face and, after a moment, nodded with a smile. From his fingertip, a golden ring flashed and a scroll appeared. He caught the scroll and flicked it toward the girl. He said somewhat helplessly,
"This is a mysterious class low-level Dou technique. Seeing that you have helped me for so long, I will give it to you. I know you want me to take you as a disciple, but I truly have no such intention. Therefore, this scroll is my compensation to you."
Quietly catching the scroll, the girl pursed her lips tightly. A moment later, she bowed gratefully toward Xiaoyan, then gave a dim smile and slowly withdrew from the shop. Following the girl's departure, the other people in the shop also followed. For a time, the shop became much emptier.
I am naturally fond of freedom, and do not like teaching disciples much. There is not much of a future for her following me.
Haibo Dong explained with a smile as he patted Xiaoyan's shoulder. Smiling slightly, Xiaoyan stretched out his hand toward Haibo Dong and said with a laugh,
Old gentleman, I have brought back what you wanted. Is it not time to give me the remaining map fragment?
Hearing this, Haibo Dong chuckled, withdrew his hand, and said with a dry laugh,
Little brother, we agreed before that as long as you help me refine the medicinal pill to break the seal, I would give the final fragment to you. Furthermore, I will owe you a favor in the future.
Very well.
Xiaoyan stared at Haibo Dong for a while, until the latter felt a bit uncomfortable. Only then did Xiaoyan nod non-committally, retracted his hand, and said with a faint smile,
I hope the old gentleman will not have more excuses after the pill is finished. Although I have a good temper, I cannot stand being fooled like a monkey.
Little brother's words are redundant. When a powerhouse gives his word, does he still need to pretend?
Smiling and shaking his head, Haibo Dong patted his chest and said boldly,
As long as you can refine the pill I need, this old man will definitely not break his word.
That is naturally for the best.
Xiaoyan nodded with a grin, raised his hand toward Haibo Dong, and said with a smile,
In that case, shall we begin now?
Now?
Haibo Dong was stunned, then immediately nodded hurriedly.
Good, good. Please.
As he spoke, he quickly pushed open the counter and led Xiaoyan into the back room. Entering the room, Xiaoyan sat casually on a chair and glanced at Haibo Dong. A smile flickered at the corner of his mouth as he said softly,
The formula and materials.
Sometimes, I find that you alchemists truly make people envious. This formula to break the seal is something I spend immense effort to find. Today, once you see it, it will naturally become yours.
Helplessly taking out numerous refining materials from his storage ring, Haibo Dong held a piece of yellowish, ancient goatskin paper. His face stiffened, but he still handed it over. For this formula, he did not know how much hardship he had endured. Keeping a happy smile on his face, Xiaoyan was also secretly delighted. Yao Lao had told him long ago that some formulas capable of breaking seals were actually of immeasurable value. Although the map fragment was the goal, obtaining a formula for a Tier 6 medicinal pill in the process was naturally even more perfect. Xiaoyan took the ancient formula that Haibo Dong was very reluctant to hand over. His eyes swept over it, and the smile on his face instantly became even more brilliant.